Seal Schaefer was born in Eugene, Oregon on November 6th of
He draws these.
1967. Her father, Dr. Benson Schaefer, was a child psychologist, while her mother was a writer and instructor at the Portland Community College. Given how proud she was of her Jewish roots, a young Rebecca would dream of becoming a rabbi.
All right.
Good night, old man.
Thanks for
After a
hopping
chance
in.
encounter with a modeling agent, she began modeling clothes during her
Bye,
junior
bye.
year in high school.
Bye, bye.
Rebecca would become a popular subject of many photographers, and she made appearances in department store catalogs and television commercials, as well as an extra in a straight-to-TV movie. She was so successful that in August of 1984, her parents
I need some
gave her
titties.
permission to move to New York City to pursue a
thank you.
full-time modeling
Not those.
career.
I'm good.
At 5'7", she was considered too short for high-fashion modeling jobs and struggled to find work as a result. Rebecca even moved
Don't
to Japan
OnlyFans be
for a
done with
short
it.
stint in the hopes of finding work there, but
Mm-hmm.
found Japanese modeling standards were even stricter than back in the United States.
Anyone can do it.
Within just a few months of
Let's do it
moving
right.
back to New York, Rebecca
go on,
landed her
Fairy, make
first
all
TV
fans.
role, playing Annie Barnes on
Yeah.
ABC's One Life to Live.
Get the most weirdest
The
requests.
following
Like, give
year,
her
she
$500 to
appeared
do
on the cover of
this.
17
Forever like, oh,
magazine, which caught the attention of television producers who were casting for a sitcom called My Sister Sam.
but then again, you can put anything on their
Through a
website.
series
It
of
doesn't have to
grueling
be anything.
auditions, Rebecca
Dude.
won the role of Patricia Russell, and the series was initially a hit, but it was canceled halfway through its second season in 1988 due to falling ratings. Yet the role established Rebecca's acting career and earned her several other roles in a variety of different productions.
Rebecca.
However, the role also brought her to the attention of an extremely dangerous and unstable young man, one that would have an indelible
His
and
face is unstable.
catastrophic impact on her life: Robert John Bardo. The youngest of 7 children, Bardo was the son of a non-commissioned officer in the United States Air Force who had met his mother whilst deployed in Japan.
Don't look at
Due
him.
to the nature of his father's occupation, the Bardo family moved frequently, eventually settling in Tucson, Arizona in 1983. And to say young Robert had a rough childhood would barely broach the issue. A young Robert was placed in foster care after abuse from one of his siblings got so bad that he threatened to take his own life. Couple that with the Bardo family's history of mental illness, and it's quite clear that he never really had a shot at an emotionally stable adulthood. By the age of 15, Bardo had been institutionalized to treat severe emotional problems, and it was around then that he was diagnosed with bipolar disorder.
Ooh.
Shortly after, he dropped out of Pueblo Magnet High School and began working as a janitor at a Jack-in-the-Box restaurant. By the time he was 19, he had been arrested 3 times for disorderly conduct, and Bardo's neighbors would frequently complain that he exhibited unexplainably strange and threatening behavior towards them. Yet, it seems they had no idea how deep Bardo's madness extended. You see, Bardo had a dangerously obsessive personality, and found himself increasingly obsessed with certain female celebrities. The first target of his dangerous obsession would be 13-year-old Samantha Smith, an American schoolgirl, peace activist, and child actress from Manchester, Maine, who became famous during the Cold War. After her death on August 25th of 1985 in the Bar Harbor Airlines Flight 1808 plane crash, Bardo was devastated. But it was during a period of intense mourning that he discovered Rebecca Schaefer while watching My Sister Sam. After writing Rebecca numerous letters confessing his love for her, Bardo attempted to gain access to the set of My Sister Sam, but was turned away by security. It was then that Bardo turned to a terrifyingly creative method of discovering Rebecca's whereabouts.
Terrifying. Good create.
Bardo contacted a Los Angeles-based private detective agency, promising to pay handsomely if they could obtain the address of one Rebecca Schaefer. Using the California Department of Motor Vehicles records, the private detective successfully obtained Rebecca's address, passing it along to Bardo for a tidy sum. They had absolutely no idea how unhinged Bardo was, or what the ramifications of their actions were. Yet they were soon to find out just how irresponsible they'd truly been. On July 18th of 1989, Bardo drove to Los Angeles to confront Rebecca at her home. He was angry because she hadn't bothered to reply to any of his letters. But not only that, he was furious because she'd appeared in a raunchy love scene in the movie Scenes from the Class Struggle in Beverly Hills.
It's no acting, dude.
Bardo allegedly told Rebecca that she'd lost her innocence, and that in partaking in such an impure movie scene had become just another Hollywood harlot. He ended the bizarre tirade by assuring her that he was a big fan and all he wanted was the best for her. Rebecca was terrified and apparently told Bardo she wanted nothing to do with him, slamming the door in his face and rushing to call the police. They assured Rebecca they'd come over to her as soon as they could, but the situation wasn't obviously an emergency in the moment, and there were no lights or sirens rushing to her apartment. In the meantime, a heartbroken Bardo walked over to a
Here we
nearby
go.
diner to get some breakfast. His
What?
plan to win over Rebecca had failed, but he also had a
sleep.
plan B, one he would use in the event of Rebecca's rejection.
She's reading some
An
cold
hour
hard
later,
yaoi.
Rebecca's apartment doorbell rang again. Assuming it was the cops, she rushed to answer the door, but when she opened it, the only person she saw
You
standing
better not be
before
over
her
there looking at the phone.
was Robert Bardo. Robert then
Bardo,
raised
no.
a Ruger 357 handgun and shot Rebecca through the heart.
Mm-hmm.
He then tossed a copy of Catcher in the Rye into her apartment and was later arrested in Tucson while wandering aimlessly through traffic. The following year, Robert tried to argue that he was criminally insane, but a judge dismissed the idea and labeled him a dangerously obsessive but otherwise mentally competent person. He was sentenced to life in prison without parole and is currently serving his sentence in California's Avenal State Prison. As a consequence of Bardo's actions and his methods of obtaining Schaefer's address, the U.S. Congress passed the Driver's Privacy Protection Act, which prohibits state departments of motor vehicles from disclosing the home addresses of state residents. Rebecca's murder also prompted the first anti-stalking state laws, including the California Penal Code 646.9, which was essentially the nation's first law against obsessive or fixated persons. It was a nice gesture, but few deny that they came too little, too late for Rebecca, who needed protecting from a dangerous, violent stalker long before there were any legal means to combat them. We can only hope these laws are direct and robust enough to stop the same thing from happening again. But given the determination of the human spirit, that seems like very wishful thinking indeed. This happened back.
Sick bastard. Sick bastard.